Innovation Unplugged from the Alabama Community College System's Innovation Center takes you inside Alabama's workforce development. Join us for enlightening conversations with community leaders and industry experts showcasing experiences, addressing key issues, and celebrating successes in the workforce initiatives across the state.
So welcome back to Innovation Unplugged. Today we have the notorious Chris Stricklin with us. I'm Brandy Merrill. I'm the Director of Curriculum Design for the Innovation Center, and you are?
I'm Houston Blackwood. I'm the Workforce Director for the Innovation Center. Welcome, Chris.
Thanks. I appreciate you guys having me here.
Yeah, thanks for making the drive down. I know you drive a lot like we do. You're probably one of the busiest people we know. Yeah. But we're so thankful to have all your support, but your time today, for sure.
Absolutely.
So you're not infamous, you're famous. You are accomplished, and when you walk in the room, people pay attention. People listen when you talk.
I appreciate that. You're making me blush a little.
Well, so a lot when we first met you, people were like, "Oh, Chris is so intimidating." And the first time I met you, I was like, I could see that, but I wasn't intimidated. I was like, I'm taking notes. I'm taking notes on this guy because I knew that whatever we were about to talk about, you had a plan or the ability to make it something really productive.
I'm glad I didn't get that because when I met you, I didn't. Like, we were on the side of the road. There was,
we're on a job site.
We were on a job site. Like, there was no real intimidation. There was sweat because it was in the middle of the summer and on a road site. But in either case, I never heard that. So I'm glad I didn't hear that, actually.
I don't know.
Houston, the other side of that? The other side of that is I just went out to check on the crews.
Yeah.
I just went by to do a drive-by, shake everybody's hands. Next thing I know, she's like, oh, no.
Hey.
Here's a microphone. You're in front of the camera.
You're on camera.
Yeah.
Let's talk.
I don't remember. Like, it was either with Leah Bigby, maybe early on, man. Like,
back in the early days.
But Leah was like,
seven.
Leah was kind of freaking out. I was like, okay, I don't know this guy. But anyway, we got to know you, and I was like, man, this guy's phenomenal. Your support of us has just been mind-blowing. You're personal, but also from an industry standpoint. So when we set this up, like, we made our calendar, and I don't think we jived on the first round, but thankfully we did this one because this will air probably in February.
Okay.
And so, it would be one of our first 6 episodes. Because we've got 7 recorded now. So anyway, that's not why we're here to talk about that. Chris, give us an intro about your story, where you came from, and how you got to where you are right now.
Who is Chris Stricklin?
Okay.
Chris Stricklin.
I love this. This is I'll give you a new slant you haven't heard before. All right. So I grew up here in Alabama. My dad was a quarry foreman, and it was a dirty job. And I would hazard to say at the time it was somewhat of a thankless job.
Sure.
And so that drove me to want out of Alabama to go somewhere else. And luckily, my girlfriend at the time agreed to that, which is now my wife. And we went off to the Air Force. We had some amazing experiences in the Air Force, seeing the world and doing the things that we get to do when we're serving the country. And then as we neared retirement, we decided we wanted to come back because there's something to the Alabama way of life.
Yeah.
To what we're doing right here, just connected, knowing people, like-minded, like-passion people. And so we came back home, and I found Dunn, the Dunn companies, Dunn Construction, Dunn Building, the whole enterprise of a 145-year-old family-owned company. And I fell in love with it. And you both have worked with us. It is the largest mom and pop startup that's not a mom and pop startup.
Definitely not mom and pop.
And I loved it. And so that became my new passion, is to take my experiences as a child and what I watched my dad do and make it a new construction era. One where we care about the minds and the hearts of the people doing the work, not just the hands of the people doing the work. There's so much livable wage to be made in construction that I had no idea of growing up here. And I come back and go, we have really good jobs with really good pay and career advancement you can have. And it's jobs where when you're driving down a road that you and your crew paved, you can be proud of that with your kids and your wife or your husband.
Love that.
And it's enabling other people to have their lives, whether it's going to school, driving down here today, the buildings we all work in. And I love that behind the scenes supporting other people mentality. And a few of us, like we were talking about in the lobby before we got started, we just got together and said, we're so excited about what we're going to do, and we have no idea what it is.
Absolutely.
Just takes off and run.
And month after month, we met.
Yeah.
Nobody missed a meeting, and we had no idea what we were going to do.
In the beginning.
Yeah. And then we started with that first little project of a skid steer, of a wheeled loader class, and it grew into what we have today. But it's not about any of us. I appreciate everything you said, but this is not about us. This is about my kids and your kids and future generations, and the fact that now we can say Alabama's number one in the workforce innovation for the nation.
Number one.
Yeah.
Number one.
We hear you say that all the time, and we love it. Absolutely love it, because it's with such passion too. Like, it's believable. It's authentic. You know, you can sense it, and you can kind of feel it, that you mean that.
Because it's the pride of what we built.
Yeah.
We, not just the three of us.
Right.
This was the state of Alabama. It was the governor giving us money for some of this. It was the chancellor of the Alabama Community College system trusting us to do something that had never been done before.
Yeah. That's huge.
It is so huge.
Yeah.
It was perfect timing of the right people in the right places with the right motivation, and looking into the legacy of, it's not about what we do day to day. It's about the classes. We were just joking about you filming out there that turned into the first stage of innovation of making us who we are.
Yeah.
That's not about who filmed it and who was behind the camera. It's about the people in front of the camera. And going back to that one, because I love that job, we were actively paving a community road, and we were literally pulling people off of equipment and pausing the job for them to come out and teach aspects of their job. So not only do people learn from those doing it each and every day, think about the pride and the passion it invokes in those people that were put in front of a camera.
Oh my gosh.
You saw that firsthand.
And they never think that they are the right person.
Never.
It is, I love watching it happen. It's almost like watching students who, tend to get a hard concept over time or something. Like, you start off and they're very apprehensive and very intimidated. They're like, I'm not the one. I'm not good in front of a camera. And the next thing you know, they're literally training a new generation of people, and you watch them just completely take off and blossom. And, they just came off of a piece of equipment in their regular everyday, and now they're teaching others, hundreds or thousands of others, how to do their day-to-day job and what that job means to them. So it's super cool to watch somebody just hop off a job site and be like, okay, I can tell you how I do my job every day. And they don't think they're going to be good at it, and then they turn out to be phenomenal at it,
Who was the skid steer?
Cortez.
I get him and Quintez mixed up. Quintez took our CDLB in Bishop and got a concrete job. He now works for Bayou Concrete. He started with Coastal, now he works for Bayou. Got his license, got his job before he even had the hard copy of his license.
Isn't that awesome?
That's great.
Incredible. Yeah.
Subnote, Bayou Concrete is a division of Dunn Company.
No,
Is it really?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
That's what
I didn't know that.
I was texting with Quintez last week, and he said that, and I'm like, well, that's an amazing thing to know. I told him the whole story about you coming on, so he's like, okay, he didn't know what it meant, but
you brought up Cortez. That's a perfect example of. So he was at our Tarrant plant, and we had him teach people how to run a skid steer, and you just nailed it in the beginning. He's like, Chris, not me, why me? And Ambry was out there filming with him, and he was so nervous.
Oh, so nervous.
So nervous. And he did such a great job.
He did.
And it's one of those clips we use all the time in promoting what we do.
Yeah.
But I went back out there a couple of weeks later, and I was talking to him, and I said, do you know what we're using it for? And he said, well, I figure you're using it for a little internal training. And I said, Cortez, let me tell you what the Alabama Community College system is using. And not only is it rolling out across the state of Alabama, but people are looking at it from other states as example what's to do.
Yeah.
And it took me a minute to convince him we were. And it was one of those pride moments.
Oh, honey.
I could see him light up.
Yeah.
He stood about 2 inches tall. And as soon as he started to walk off, I said, you're going to go call your mama, aren't you? And he goes, I sure am.
I love it.
Well, that's a great segue. So you said earlier, what we do allows people to be proud of their work. So that's the third or fourth time on this show. But what we say here is that what we do allows people to take pride in that work. And in 3 previous occasions, people have been like, I can do this now, and my kids can ride down the road that I built, or look at the building that I restored.
Yeah.
We talked about that in Selma the other day. Last Thursday night, they were talking about restorative construction.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a craft. It's not just a job. You're not, new brick is not like old brick. And so they were talking about that. They wanted to bring on new people to teach to learn the old ways, to say, I repaired that building. Somebody built it 100 years ago.
Yeah.
I repaired it, but put in people's hands on a skill and then put them on a project.
And we got away from that. Like, I think as a country, we got away from that. Like, somewhere or another, we lost our way. And now it seems as though we're kind of trying to get back, to where there is generational pride in putting your hands on things and teaching the, and maybe it's just a learned lesson of watching labor participation, or maybe it's a result of like over-endorsing, college degrees. And it's not that college degrees aren't a good thing. Of course they're a good thing. But kind of back to that hands-on need to know, don't ship it out of the country. Let's do it ourselves. Like, there's pride in, like you said, in building this road. Like, you get to experience that ride with your child or with your family member to go, I did that. You could too. So I don't know. There's something that's truly, American about all of that, about, generational pride.
We've talked about this before. I think too many people started chasing the dollar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we all have to have it. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
You got to have a paycheck.
Sure.
Right? That's survivable. We need livable wages, which is what I always use.
Right.
But it became more about the dollar and less about what we were doing. Mm-hmm. And I truly think we don't have a labor problem in this state, in this nation. What we have is a motivation and a personal identity problem.
Mm-hmm.
Because a job is something you do for the paycheck.
That's right.
And when you get it on Friday, you've got your paycheck, you're done, and you unplug. Mm-hmm. A career is something you do for the intrinsic satisfaction of, I want to show you the road I made.
Yeah,
I want to show you the building I built.
Yeah.
I want to show you the building I built that became the innovation center that is now changing lives in Alabama.
Right.
Yep.
Oh, by the way, it comes with a paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
But I think too often we get those backwards.
Yeah.
And that's when people are jumping jobs for a quarter an hour difference.
Right.
Whereas more often than not, I have seen people will leave a job they're unhappy in and sometimes take a lesser paying job that they're happy going to every day because it's more of a career and not a job.
And I think we're seeing that with this new generation too. I mean, we have similarly aged kids, and looking at kind of that age group, I think they learned the lessons maybe we didn't learn, or maybe it was our parents that didn't learn. I don't know about, ultimately it's about satisfaction, right? Not chasing that dollar. Like you said, maybe our generation did too much of that, or maybe our parents' generation did too much of that. But I think this age group, I think they want that. I don't know if it's that feel good job as much as it is, I just want to be happy in what I do, and feel fulfilled, I guess, as a,
Yeah, and I'll admit that I did that in the beginning of my career. We talked about the book about my Thunderbird time.
Yeah.
And until I was a Thunderbird, I think I was very much focused on the definition of personal success for me.
Yeah.
That I had very clearly defined in things.
Yeah.
And again, luckily, I had a wife who would hang on and put up with me chasing things and being gone from home and taking different jobs. And then after my Thunderbird assignment, it was like the big realization of, it's not about me, it's about us.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about what success I have. It's about what legacy we leave on the other side, which is why I volunteer with you guys so much.
Yeah.
And am so passionate about what we're doing, because it's not about us.
Right.
This is about my kids and your kids and their kids, and the fact that I'm tired of Alabama being 49th or 50th in everything.
Yeah.
I love to. That's the reason I'm so passionate about we're number one, because outside of football, I don't know that we've been number one in anything.
We need to get you one of the
positive
foam number one hands.
I'm going to walk in with a hand.
Chris Stricklin's foam number one hand.
So that's a great segue. That you're big on resilience.
Yes.
That's a word that lives with Chris Stricklin. So, and I told Chris off air that I bought one of his books, but my dogs ate it. And I literally shredded it. But I think
that's not a joke.
Really, I couldn't find it for about 3 days, and then I found like some pages, and it just so happened the pages were the aftermath of your crash and what it took to walk through that smoke. Mm-hmm. And so my question for you is, we could get into that if you want to, or we can answer this question. What do you tell people when they're trying to figure out their life? They're not where they want to be, or they're in a situation they didn't expect, or they're just trying to start out. All three of those scenarios is mentally, emotionally, physically tough. How do you teach resilience in those situations for people to get through, to walk through that?
It's a great.
Oh, I love it. I am very passionate about that. And when you look at resilience, one of my pet peeves is when somebody goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. That was just a natural reaction." There are no natural reactions. Between every action and a reaction is a decision. And it's one based in your values, in your experiences, and your beliefs. And that is what frames your automatic reaction. So it's the years went by that frame how you're going to react the next time something negative happens. And when you really think about that, you can't get off scot-free when you go, "I'm sorry, it was just a reaction. I didn't mean to do that." No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
This is your inner self showing itself.
It's like the fabric of who you are.
It is the fabric of your soul, of who you are and what your experiences are, because those experiences make us who we are today.
Sure.
So when people are going through a tough situation, guess what? We all go through tough situations. And whether it's a crash of a multi-million-dollar F-16, a job change, a divorce, an accident, even though they're different magnitudes, the things you go through are still the same.
Sure.
You're founded in who you are.
Yeah.
And you either become a victim of that situation or you become a victor. So too many people go, somebody hit me on the road, I had an accident, and now I can't work, and oh, woe is me.
Yeah.
Or you take that and go, what good can come out of this? And my incident is a perfect example. Something that was one of the hardest things in my family's life. After many years of not talking about it, which don't not talk about trauma, that's not the way to do it. But we didn't talk about it. We didn't admit it. We didn't embrace it. And then we went, we're going to turn this into something. We're going to take our darkest moment and make it something good for people. And so it was very deliberate.
Yeah.
It was very painful.
Sure.
I mean, it was, because I had to truly go back into what I call all the bad feelings were locked in a closet.
Yeah.
Well, eventually the lock fell off and the closet door opened.
You had to walk through it all over again.
All of it just came flying at me. And so it was difficult to get there. But now you both have seen me. I go on stages around the world and talk about that incident and what people can learn in their lives. And I'll give you the keynote out of the keynote. When I was consulting before I came to Dunn, Fortune 100 companies, top CEOs all around, I would always ask them what to write down their definition of success. And I found that over 90% of people couldn't do that. Think about that. Right now, you're both thinking, what's my debt?
Absolutely.
I think I have an answer, but go ahead.
And here's where I go with that. Most people will write down what the latest leadership book they read. I want a pay raise. I want a promotion. It's a title. It's a thing. But more important than that definition of success is just a lily pad of life. It's something you step on to get somewhere. It's not an end game. It's more about going back to legacy. It's more about your why. Why am I sitting here with the two of you? Why do we do what we do? Why do I go to the church I do? Why do I associate? You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Sure.
Do they bring out your best or bring out your defenses? Those are 2 different areas.
Absolutely.
And I'm not going to spend time with people that bring out my defenses.
Yeah.
But when you challenge me to be better, right, we're having a conversation here that I think's got us all 3 kind of fired up.
All the time.
That's a definition of making us better, because we're encouraging each other to think. That's who I'm going to surround myself with. Think about the team that is focusing on the Innovation Center at the community college.
We say that it's like lightning in a bottle. Like we caught lightning in a bottle.
That's perfect. I love that.
Group. Because we get so fired up. And I think that's why not only are we drawn to you, but we deeply and gutturally appreciate you, because and so many others is the passion behind it, because of we see it. We get to watch this like take off across the state and make impact and all of the good things, right? But we it doesn't go unnoticed. Like we truly know we caught lightning in a bottle.
I love that. I'm going to start using that. I'm going to steal that one.
It's true. Yesterday we again on the road. None of us were in the same spot, and we were talking about,
and we do this a lot,
some good things that were happening.
4-way call. This is where all the lightning happens.
We call it windshield meetings.
Absolutely.
Like that.
That's good.
Okay.
So this idea right here came from, I was on 65 just north of Prattville when we were talking about Innovation Unplugged. I'll never forget it. But yesterday was a really good day. So December 13th, 2023. Yeah. 2023. We had like 10 wins. Like
big win.
Huge things that we had never expected. One of them was
just an average day.
Unbelievable. And we celebrate wins all the time. But as we started to and this is where like that whole team and feed off each other and, you know, even back to like whole iron sharpens iron kind of thing, and passion comes along. Like, as we started like calling these out, like each person had one or two that were just
piling wins on.
And it was just like, as we were driving, it was like, oh my God. And so he starts saying, how many is that? And so we start counting and oh my gosh.
So it was a regional bottling distributor, the K-12 conversation we had yesterday, a fiber optics company that was all in. A college asked us to build a course for what they've been doing since they started, which was not our lane.
Huge.
But you'll take it.
Alabama,
if we build it, they will come. That's what I said.
That moved to the top of this. Alabama Power, who's always been a huge sponsor of the Innovation Center, but they are embedding our fiber optics into their lineman program.
Yeah.
Which it was their course and you didn't get in.
Huge reach.
We had some updates on social media, some better practices, and then we had a new state initiative. It went on for
all
like
these things.
10 things, and so we were just like, holy cow. But what happens out of that, each of those things have a set of action items, touch points that we have to go and attack that to make it happen. So one of my questions for you is, in knowing how much you travel and how many things you're actually a part of, how do you keep your mental edge with so many things to do and handle?
That's good.
And drive? Because like, I never see you frazzled, and I never see this team really frazzled, but like, how do you keep everything in front of you and stay calm
and fired up? Like, I've never seen you walk in anywhere where you're like ho hum. It is always like 110% bringing it.
It's like that bell rings and here comes Chris in the middle of the octagon every time. So how do you do that? What's your secret?
Passion.
Yeah.
I only do things I'm passionate about. Period. My wife and I say this all the time. We are at an age in our life where we don't have to do anything we don't want to do.
Ooh, preach it. Ooh. Yes.
And we live by that. Because that was, once we started saying that, it was actually hard. She says I have one problem, is that I don't understand the word no. And I overextended myself for a couple of years, and I started losing that passion because I was spread too thin. And as a matter of fact, last year, we literally sat down in January and made a list of everywhere I was volunteering my time and where my passion was, and we started marking things off.
Yeah.
And that sounds horrible, but the way to get to where you want to go is to actually take things off your plate.
Sure.
So that every time I do walk in, I'm passionate about what we're doing.
Yeah. You've got enough left over.
Yes.
You've got to have enough left over in the reserves to be able to give your attention and your focus and your passion to all of those projects. I get it.
Right. Because we're all busy. Everybody's busy every day. No matter where you're working, you got kids, you got volunteer, you got work, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Right now, we're giving each other our entire 100% attention. And I hope that you've never been with me when that wasn't the same, when you didn't feel that
it's way. Never been that way.
Nope.
And even if I have to jump on my phone, I'll tell you, hey, I got to step out and jump on my phone.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to sit here and look at it while we're talking.
Yeah.
Right? It don't mean things aren't stacking up for all three of us.
Right.
For sure.
Right. But you get my attention.
But that's right.
Yeah.
When we're here, we're present.
Yeah.
And that's what we tell people on the job sites. Be present. When we teach a new leadership class to our foreman and superintendent, so I love this. When my dad was working construction, the way you learn to run a piece of equipment, and somebody threw you the keys and said, don't mess it up.
Yeah.
It is not the safest way to learn.
Right.
Sometimes I feel like people are looking for you to fail more than they are looking for you to do good, because then it would take away from how the good they were. And that's just not the way to do it. And like your example of being on one of our job sites, early in this, I was out on one of our asphalt rollers. And I knew this one gentleman was the best I had ever seen. And he took a break, and I climbed up on the machine, and he had paint on the front and the back. Well, that's not normal. We keep our equipment pretty clean, and this was very deliberate paint stripes. Like he had taken liquid paper or something to put on there. And I go, hey, what is that? Because I knew it had to be there for a reason.
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, that's just something I do. And I said, well, tell me about it. What is it that you do? And he goes, well, you see, when I'm rolling the asphalt close to curbs, if I'm on the right side, I put the curb on that right piece of paint, and all of them are where the curb is for me to roll a perfect mat out.
Holy cow.
And I said, that is brilliant. Why haven't you told everybody about that?
Yeah.
He goes, nobody cares how I do this. I go, but they do.
Yeah. You just don't realize it.
And now comes the big realization. He goes, but if I told other people what makes me so good, you wouldn't need me as much.
Oh,
And that broke my heart.
it is heartbreaking.
Because when you pull people off job sites, it just makes them even better.
Yeah.
It empowers them even more.
Yeah.
And I went, but if you teach them how to do it, they're going to challenge you, and we're all going to get better together. And you will always be the person that came up with these little paint stripes on a roller.
And they may have a way that you've never thought of, and then they're sharing it with you, and it's just this combined effort of goodness, But I don't know, that gave me tingles.
That's the difference
Yeah.
in a well-run team and a high-performing team.
Right.
The Innovation Center is a high-performing team.
Mm-hmm.
And what that means is all of your team can sit down in the room, and it doesn't matter whose idea it is.
True.
It really don't matter what we need to do to get there, because we'll all pick up the shovel, pick up the camera.
Yeah.
We'll sit down and write. It doesn't matter because it's about the Innovation Center in the state of Alabama.
Yeah.
That's a high-performing team. When we don't have people playing it close to their best and go, well, if I tell Brandy how I do this, she might be better than me.
Yeah.
I have the confidence to know you're better than me at a lot of things. And if I'm teaching my replacement everything I know, I'm empowering them to do more than I could ever do.
And that's a true leader. Like, you want someone that you're training to be obviously be better than you are. You want to see their successes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Training your replacement.
Yeah.
Train your replacement. One of the things we do in the military, as a new commander, it's a 2-year assignment. So 2 years from the day you start, you're going to hand over to somebody else. And so one of our secrets is when you take over from the guy or girl you're replacing, they give you a book called a continuity book. And it's kind of what they learned along their way.
Sure.
And then day one, you open your own book, and it starts with what I wish I would have known when I took my job.
Holy cow.
And you write that, and you literally put, this isn't just a bullet, you put thought into it. And the whole purpose of that is when I now turn the squadron over to you, in your training, I'm going to bring that book and go, okay, let's go through this. And let me tell you what you need to go get before you take seat. Right? I wasn't prepared for this. I didn't know this. Here's where you can go get that training. Here's who you can talk to about that. And that's the reason our military is the best in the world. That's the reason every commander is better than the last one, because every commander, what I always used to say is, when you give up command in a squadron, that's not the measure of your success. You won't know how successful you were as a leader till 10 years later when you're sitting on the porch with a cup of coffee and it comes on the news and you see what that unit did.
Yeah.
Because the person leading it then is the junior person that worked for you 10 years ago.
I had a question. How much organizational leadership knowledge and acquisition during your military time, how much of that, I don't know, leads your everyday role at Dunn? How much that thread? Yeah.
It is. And if I have a meeting, you know this from being around me, we are going to start on time. And if you're not there, I will start without you. That's not being disrespectful to you. That's the person that's late being disrespectful to the team. And it's those type of small things that leads us to be better, because if I start on time, I'm also going to finish on time.
Yeah.
Because that's not about our meeting. That's about your next meeting and being disrespectful to that person. I mean, if you really want to boil this down, it's all about respect and love for the person you're working with.
Yeah.
I love everybody we work with as people.
Sure.
We're all like-minded. We really are.
Because that's what you've built.
Because that's what we have built.
Yeah.
And that's what makes us passionate. And we all want all of our organizations to be even better after. We want them to be as good as they can. Don't get me wrong, while we're here. But we want to position everybody. You stood up the Innovation Center. That's not the measure of your success. Give me a little fist bump there.
I mean, this is lots of people.
But what's it going to be 10 years after you leave?
Yeah.
That's the real measure of how good of a foundation did we make in this?
Yeah.
Not just how fast did we roll this out and we were awesome for a short time and burned out. This is something that's going to change our state for generation.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what I had. One of the people that took one of the classes, I bumped into him on the side of the road somewhere working a job, not that worked for us. This is somebody that lives in a different county and everything. And he happened to recognize me from some of the dealings we had had. And he said, let me tell you how your programs, Innovation Center, changed the lives of my children.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, think about the power of that.
Yeah.
It changed his life, but that wasn't his focus.
Right.
He said, and it's the first time I heard this, he goes, this is a generational change.
Mm-hmm.
You put my kids and their kids on a different path for life by what I'm able to do and provide for them now that I never was before.
It's incredible. And it all started actually on a cocktail napkin and over a cup of coffee and a Burger King?
Burger King or Jack's. I think it was Jack's.
Something. I mean, goodness gracious,
The best.
I mean, I don't believe in happenstances, I think it was I think it was divinely led, that this happened. But how cool is it that you can go from a thought on a cocktail napkin or over a cup of coffee to something that is changing generations,
That's
people.
it. And I will tell you, the biggest motivation in the early times was how many people told us no.
Yeah.
Oh, still.
Yeah.
That's
How many people told us that's not possible?
We get fired up by no, honestly. Where there's a will, there's a way. There was a baseball coach my son had. I can't do it like he did it. But, and it's kind of become another motto of ours, which is find a way. Mm-hmm. We don't know no. We don't tell people no very often. Like if somebody comes and says, hey, can you build it? Yes, we can. And so when we go and we'll
figure out how.
I mean, we just find a way, which is kind of that natural lightning in a bottle. There's never a naysayer in the bunch that's like, we can't do that. Or here are 18 reasons why that's not going to work. It's always, well, let's figure it out. And that's where the fun comes in and the passion comes in is like not seeing something as a problem. It's seeing it as that's a new challenge. Let's see if we can figure that one out, and then putting it into place and then off it goes. So
I think a perfect example of that is in our younger years of the Innovation Center.
Yeah.
One of the holdbacks we had for heavy equipment was you have to be 18 years old to get on a piece of equipment. Mm-hmm. And I was in national conventions and national workforce committees, and they went, that's a non-starter. You have to be 18, period. Federal law. Mm-hmm. And then fast forward a couple of years, we just taught a class at Pike Road High School.
Yeah.
And every one of those high school people had a job offer by the end of the class.
Mm-hmm.
And they were all under 18.
Yeah.
And it was all done legally, safely, everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because when they told us we couldn't,
He's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's no way you can teach somebody how to operate a skid steer online. Well, it's hybrid, but it is online. We do take things and make it different, like a new way of learning. You were talking about micro-learning earlier. That is kind of how each of those lessons are built, is kind of that micro-learning mentality. And I use the whole TikTok thing a lot, saying, in this day and age, we don't really want like the 30-minute tutorial on how to do something. We want those micro-learning. We know that cognitively we learn better in short bursts. So that micro-learning is kind of embedded in all of those courses. But yeah, anyway.
Well, speaking of that online though, when we started, the community college model of let's go to class 2 days a week from 6 to, my son's in one of the classes right now. He loves it. But from 6 to 9 p.m. every Tuesday and Thursday, he's in an online virtual class.
Right.
That's still something he has to schedule around. Mm-hmm. So if you remember in the early days, we said, how do we take our classes to them for them to learn their way?
Yeah.
Not the way we've always done it. So not only are they doing it virtually, it's on demand, on their schedule, and they go through the theory on their timeline. And then once they graduate from the theory, they find the practical.
Right.
The hybrid part.
Right.
And because you have to be sitting in the seat to learn a piece of equipment.
Absolutely.
But look at that.
So this is, to your point exactly, this is in York, Alabama. We were talking about that before the show. Sumter County Skilled Trades. This is a gentleman's house.
So for everybody that can't see this, it is literally a gentleman sitting on his couch in his living room looking his device.
Yeah, there were 5 people working on our course.
In that living room.
Excavators next week down there. That's what they were working on. And they were they're all community members and they had days off or whatever. But they were doing the online part, and that guy went and bought laptops for them to use.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, and
empowering other people to make a difference.
anywhere, anytime,
Anywhere.
tree stand.
I mean, that's 5 people in the living room. That's better than us running a class at the Innovation Center.
Sure.
Because they're sitting in the living room, having a soda, having a glass of tea, talking about the classes, interacting about the classes.
Yeah.
Well, both of you guys know my youngest just signed up for one of our newest classes.
The fiber.
The fiber class. And he's so excited. He's got to finish up the class he's in before he starts. But I'm so excited to have one of my children going through one of the classes that 5 years ago, nobody would have ever thought you could learn to deal with fiber lines online.
Right.
Yeah.
Such a technical, like that is probably one of the very first, most technical, small components, that kind of thing. Very hard to seemingly capture and did it. Yeah, absolutely. 100% nailed it, knocked it out of the park, and now it's used all across the state. So does he know that he's kind of a VIP in the Skills for Success world? He doesn't know that we watch. He doesn't
even know anything we do together.
Well, he might now.
He doesn't know that when he signed up, I sent you guys a text and said, hey,
he didn't.
hey, something's coming through.
That college workforce, I didn't screenshot it, but I was like, hey, don't blow this. like what do you need to make this happen? And that college does a great job. They were one of our early adopters. To doing all things Skill for Success. They actually changed their entire model. They went from an 8-week CDL to predominantly our 3-week model. And it's tough. It's a stretch.
That's a big move.
Oh, man. But that's going around the state. I want to give you some numbers because you and Gary Weaver met 5 years ago.
2019.
Okay. So, which is where the Innovation Center came from. We talked about that in our origin story. It came out of COVID and a need for something different. So, we are somewhere around 8,000 people enrolled. Like we have
See, Brandy's looking. She knows I'm going to use that stat.
Oh man. So use it.
And that's today.
That's today. So we have a registration system and then an actual. So there's an argument between the two systems. What's the accurate number? But 8,000 is a really good number. Like that's solid. It's around 8,000. This fall we had the CRI in the high schools. So just this fall alone we had 278 sections, like different classes at the
career readiness indicator.
No. So like overall,
tell me the CRI.
Okay, so career readiness indicator is the K-12 version of, hey, this person has gone through a track and they've done a thing and they can go do a job in a certain sector. But in our world, like across all the colleges, every time we have, say, a bulldozer class, there are different sections. Okay. One for Mobile, one for Dothan, whatever. So we had roughly 280 sections overall. 193 of those are for high school.
That's the future generations right there.
Absolutely. There's the generational pride. We can look back and go, okay, well, here's what we did for that generation, or helped to do for that generation.
55 different high schools served. We met with Jefferson County. But
one semester.
And one semester. Shelby County was like, they went quickly. We met with Jefferson County. Like, we've got 16,000 career tech students. And quick math in my head, I said, oh boy, if
I want all of them.
Well, yes.
Everyone.
And then I thought, well, if all 16,000 take a skid steer course, that's $24 million of payout ish. Well, we need more money. And so, but that was the realization. Okay, well, we've done this much. So if we want to scale up, this is where we have to go. You mentioned the age for heavy equipment operator. Limestone County Career Tech registered 48 students for skid steer for 3 sessions in January. Like, these are high school kids.
High school.
In Athens, Alabama, taking skid steer. And eventually, throughout the next semester, they'll take excavator, dozer, and roller. They'll have 4 pieces of equipment, and they'll take fiber.
And 4 credentials.
4 credentials.
5 credentials.
Right into the...
5 credentials instead of only a high school diploma.
Right.
Not taken away from a high school diploma.
Sure.
But these are life skills on top of that diploma by the same time they have it.
This is skill proficiency in the high schools where they could, and who knows, the trackability of some of that is, we would love to see and know, what the future of all those students will be, but you never know. All of us, there's no doubt we could look back on our, career path and go, golly, I didn't realize that was going to be a crucial piece. I didn't realize that was going to lead to that. Golly, I'm so glad I got this, because then that means it led me here. Like, those are the intangible things you can't really measure, right? We have no idea how those 4 or 5 credentials that student will get, we have no idea how that will impact maybe their 1 year, 5 year, 20 years from now. You know, what will that have done to their trajectory kids. And for their kids? Yeah. So, passion,
That's where we're going.
Yeah.
And that's what comes out of that conversation that you and Gary had, that vision, that dream you're so passionate about, you're still passionate about. That's where it's headed. We met with Tony yesterday, and he said, whatever you guys have, we'll approve. And the next thing is, I don't know how much you know about education, K-12 education, but there are traditional students, and then there are non-typical students who don't perform as well for whatever reason. Right. A lot of things. But right now there's a gap. They have to have the CRI requirement too, but there's not a career path for them. There's not a track for them. So we're like, hey, all these kids over here in this bundle that aren't in these tracks, we need a track for them, whatever it is. So, because we've had several students take these courses, especially the heavy equipment,
that have challenges,
and they've gotten jobs where they clean up the laydown yard or the gravel pit, and they just keep all the different gravel sorted so the trucks come in and don't mess up the concrete, whatever. But it's a routine job, steady, same hours, same process every day. But they're making $20 an hour and benefits for a 2-day, and a 3-day class. And so that's what you've done for people. There's a kid in the Bevel district that took skid steer, got a job because of it, just because of that. And then they gave him time off to take the dozer and the excavator.
Because it's so beneficial.
Yeah.
So earlier you asked me about when you go through a hard time, how do we tell people to get through it? We've talked about a lot of the great things. Let's talk about a problem we had in the early phases. Because when we came up with this on a whiteboard, it was the greatest idea in the world, and we all knew it.
But you had to get people behind it.
We had to get people behind it, and we had to get money.
Yeah.
And so we wrote the first grant with one of your presidents of one of the community colleges. And it was, we thought that grant walked on water. It was so obvious this is where we wanted to take the state of Alabama.
Yeah.
And we were just beaming with pride when it went in to get approved, and it got denied.
Yeah.
Setback number one.
And it was a big one because we had devoted at that point about 2 years into this concept, and it was such a gimme to get approved. And that president and I, we weren't mad at each other. We were so frustrated we didn't speak for about 3 months. Just, I don't want to talk about it. I got to walk away for a little while. And then about 3 months later, there was a couple of texts. We got the burning again of, they can't tell us no. We're not going to let them tell us no.
Yeah, find a way.
And so we redid it the next year, and it got approved. And so that was a setback that we had to lick our wounds for a little while. But then we got back into it, and now what you just said is people are coming to us and approving everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
I said earlier, the support of our governor.
Huge.
Look what happened this year.
Yeah.
We took the message of the Innovation Center to Montgomery.
Yeah.
In a hard budget time.
Yeah.
And they line itemed money purely to the Innovation Center because they now understand the impact of what we're doing for the state.
Yeah. And there's proof of concept. Like, it's working.
Everywhere.
It is a tangible, look what is happening. Look how many. Look where this is going. And it's all across the spectrum. It's your kids in high school. It's your incumbent workers. It's your folks who are on career number 2. It's your retirees. It is all across the spectrum of, population, of state. It just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the age. It doesn't matter the income bracket. It doesn't matter what your intent is. The training is there. The credentials are there, and you can do with them whatever you want to do with them, and you can take them wherever you want.
We still have a long way to go.
Yeah.
We sat down with a strategy session a while back of what we're going to do for 2024.
Yeah.
And we talked about the biggest challenge is the rest of Alabama needs to understand what we have here.
Yeah.
The rural communities that don't know, because the people that know love it.
Yeah.
But there's still so many people that don't know that untapped resource of what they can do, of the 5 people that can be in their living room changing their life. And so that's something we agreed is, we're sitting on a podcast. This is part of marketing, right?
Yeah.
We have to market it to the people that haven't been marketed to in the past.
Right.
The people that don't drive past a community college every day on the way to school, work, church, wherever they're going. Because it's a great message. And going back to Alabama being number 1, I say that with such pride, like you said.
Yeah.
the most prideful I was is I had the opportunity to sit in on, I don't even remember who it was, but it was a meeting with some federal agencies and some workforce in different states. Mm-hmm. And the consultant that was leading it, when they chimed in on their video call, she said, I'm so happy to meet with you because everybody up here knows Alabama's #1 in workforce innovation.
Oh, out of her words.
And those were her words out of Washington, D.C. And I went,
love it.
I'm done here. I'm done. I'm going to be at the coffee pot.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing for us to say it, and we believe it.
It is,
That's not made up.
Yeah.
We have facts to prove that we're #1.
Absolutely.
But when somebody from other areas start using it, I mean, that gives me chills to say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does me too. I had a conversation with a company not too long ago, and they're looking at being a vendor or whatever, and they're not based out of here. They're also up in the Northeast. And he said, this is all great. He said, but I just have one question. How are y'all doing what you're doing? How do you do this? Yeah, and I was like, how long you have? Like you got 5 minutes, you got 30 seconds. Like give me your pitch. How long anyway? So it's a beautiful message. Like we love, and then that's where we came up with it was the people, the processes, and perseverance. Like we've got the right people in the right place at the right time, and we've put in processes in place to make all of this work. And we get up, they're better every day. They're better today, kind of like AI. The processes are better today than they were yesterday because we don't believe in static. Everything changes constantly. We'll see something. If we don't like, if it's not working, boom, change, done. And then we've got all these people and it goes back to the timing. The timing just wasn't right then.
Right.
For whatever reason, the timing
that
wasn't
we will
right.
never understand.
No, I have no idea, but it's right now because all of the people are in the right places and, at the right time. So people, processes, and perseverance. I told him that's how we got here.
Yeah. What was it? Do you remember what you changed? How did you pivot for that grant, or did you just put the same thing in again?
We socialized it.
Okay.
It was, in essence, 99% the same grant. But just like we said, when we went to Montgomery and talked to the governor's staff about this, we called our contacts and said, let us tell you what's really behind this grant.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing that's changed. It's the why.
Yeah. They had to see the why.
It's not about the dollars we just asked for.
Yeah.
It's about the why we're doing it.
Yeah.
And the other reason I think this was is started off as well as it did is we had some corporate partners that were involved in that said, if we don't get the grant approved, we will write a check to cover it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've never been so glad that my company didn't have to write our portion of that.
Yeah.
But that's how we had your president of Jeff State on board is we said, this is not a wasted effort.
Yeah.
If it's not approved this time, these companies will cut a check to get it started.
Make it happen.
And thankfully we didn't have to, but we were willing to. That's the power of our community partnership. That's why, a done person sitting here with the Innovation Center and my board knows how passionate I am about this, but it wasn't just friends, right? People go, oh, is a bunch of people that have hung out together. No, if you look back to the group, one of the people on the board with us is one of our lead competitors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for that year where we all got together meeting, our handshake agreement was our competition stays outside. Mm-hmm. When we shut the door, this is about the state of Alabama. Mm-hmm. Now, once we build it, when we walk out the door, I'm going to hire these people and you're never going to get them, right? The competition's back there.
Sure.
Yeah.
But if we don't build a better workforce for the future, there's going to be nothing to compete with.
Yeah.
And that says something because, I mean, trust me, we're in heavy competition with that company to this day, but we also partnered because it's about the state and it's about all of us. It goes back to what I said. It's not about any of us. This is about all of us.
Mm-hmm. Bigger purpose.
And taking it even further, because the Alabama community college system, this is also causing ripples nationwide.
Sure.
Because when have all of your community colleges worked together this well? Or when is a community, because remember, one of the other agreements is when you build it, you have to be willing to give it to somebody else that wants to do it. That's where the Innovation Center came from.
Yeah.
This isn't about Jeff State building it and not giving it to Bevel.
Mm-hmm.
When Bevel calls, you have to go, here's everything we know along with our lessons learned so you can build your own.
Yeah.
That was the inspiration for the Innovation Center.
That's one of the beautiful things I truly love about this is us getting to partner with all these people and kind of come along, kind of comes alongside and helps build it. And then once it's ready, it's given away, and we just watch it like it goes and it flies. And, it's successful. It's almost like watching a kid walk out the door. And,
It is.
it's like, golly, I loved on you for a long time and I think you're ready, and then off they go and they do great things. And it's a lot like that.
And it's been a sales pitch and a constant communication to the colleges, because when you and Jeff State delivered that first training, Jimmy Hodges had just come as our president at Calhoun, and he was like, "Hey, do you see that?" I said, "Yes, sir, I saw that." He said, "What's your plan?" I said, "Give me an hour." So I called Leah, and she came on in her job after I had been in mine, and I was like, "Hey, listen, I got a problem." She said, "What? What's going on?" I was like, "Well, you have an excavator course and all this heavy equipment, and I need it."
Apparently, I need one too.
Yeah. And she said, "No problem. Here's the application. Here's all my notes." And even though Calhoun and Jeff State are super competitive because they're always a top for enrollment, and and Keith Brown's super competitive, she was like, "Here's all."
He's military.
Is he?
He is.
I thought that. I never knew his backstory, but she just gave me everything. She's like, "Here." And so we wrote the next year when that grant came around. We had the same plan, and of course we went up to it a little bit, and we had some different levels, but that's what happens. I wrote down while you were talking, iron sharpens iron. Now two companies compete, but you go out and you make a product that's better. And so out of that, now Leah and I at the time, but now in this role, we're able to push what they did to so many different levels. And she, she's humble. She doesn't try to take glory for it, but that's where it started. And so it got better as it went.
And colleges do that a lot more often, kind of back to your point. They do it a lot more often now than we saw or knew about in the beginning.
Yeah.
Right? They're picking up the phone. They're calling each other. There are group chats and texts
Back channel.
that we don't know about that are occurring with those colleges because they're learning from each other. And so it's a really cool thing to watch.
But we also use that. Like, we have an idea of like, watch this. So I'll send it out to one who I know.
Tell all the secrets. Oh my God.
He's like,
never going to work again.
"What do you think about this?" And he goes, "I don't know." But then I'll get like a couple of days later, I'll get a random question from somebody else that I never talked to. And they're like, "Hey, can we do it this way?" I'm like, "Well, it just so happens I might have an idea."
It's like your secret shopping.
It is, but
they're all going to
know that because there's a crew that I use that I kind of float things through, but they know that. But what it does is it gets that buy-in. They're like, "Well, here's how it works in my district," And so,
Because it is different in some places.
Yeah.
and it works. We're about out of time.
God, that went fast.
So, Jocko Willink and Joe Rogan will go for hours. Like, I've listened to a Jocko podcast from my home to Montgomery and back and didn't finish the whole thing. I'm like, so they're like, "You can only go for an hour," our team. I'm like, why not?
We can do this all day long.
Let's go.
But we're thinking about the listener. But we try to keep ours under 1 hour total. So, final thoughts, man. Like, you're so accomplished. You've pushed us farther than we probably would have gone without you. What are your thoughts on our next steps, or final thoughts about what will we be toasting to in 5 years?
So what he's alluding to is we were talking about the way I strategically plan with teams is we don't think about where we want to be in 5 years, because that will get a different answer. What we do is we say we have a time machine. We fast forward 5 years. We just popped the champagne. We're clinking glasses together, celebrating. What are we celebrating?
Yeah.
So that was my challenge to them this morning, is to ask that question for the Innovation Center 5 years from now.
Yeah.
What are we looking back on? What are we celebrating? Because we know what we're celebrating now. What are we going to be celebrating then? And real quick, before I answer the rest of that, I will go back to, you mentioned Jocko's podcast. So there was an opportunity this year, Dirt World Summit, the first ever, happened last month.
Yeah.
Jocko was the keynote. His team led it. Gosh. It was phenomenal. They forecast about 250 people to show up. I think there were 1,250 people.
Wow.
It was a challenge to get everybody in, but it's because there's really nothing that has ever focused on the dirt world nationally. And so they've already planned the one for next year, and I hope I'm not surprising you too much, but when we go into it next year, it'll be in San Antonio, and next year I'm going to be the keynote speaker. And
I know where we're going.
Part of that agreement is it's a convention, right? People buy convention space. This is where people market. Part of that agreement is there will be an Alabama Community College at no cost to you.
We'll go with you.
For you to go with and show off everything we're doing nationally.
Yeah.
And I don't think a community college has ever done that on that scale.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody in other states has ever really cared at that level. And I don't mean that negative. It's just a reality of we get busy with what we're doing.
Day to day. Yeah.
But what you have built here in Alabama is about to sit at one of the biggest conventions and roll out across the nation. Mm-hmm. So make sure you have people to man the phones and the emails, because after that, you're going to get plenty of calls. But I'm excited about that.
Me too.
Big.
It shows you how much we're on to something that people are passionate about.
Yeah.
And when we build a class, going back to the beginning, our original class was 12 people. Of that 12 people, 2 of them were required to be not in the industry, from other industries coming in.
I remember that.
And because a lot of people in the industry need to upskill,
Yeah.
right? We always want to do better, but if we're not building it, because in construction right now, we are high on the average age, because people that have been doing it a long time.
Sure.
For every 5 people that retire, 1 person is entry.
Oh, it's nasty.
So that's not a sustainable model if we don't have things like the 2 of you are doing right here, like the innovation is doing to motivate a younger generation to do more.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate talking about accomplishments, but it has nothing to do with what we did, right? What we did last year is awesome, but somewhat irrelevant.
Good point.
All that matters is what we're going to do together in 2024.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because we don't sit around talking about how awesome we were for the last 5 years. We sit there with a whiteboard and plan out how awesome the organization is going to be for the next 5 years, right?
Absolutely.
And that's what we all need to focus on. My experiences make me who I am, just like the 2 of you. It's what we're going to do tomorrow, because the military, the high-performing model is my goal is always to be better tomorrow than I am today. Mm-hmm. And as one of my SEAL buddies said, the only easy day is yesterday. I think we've all heard that.
Yeah.
So what are we going to do next?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we need to be talking about, because everybody knows Alabama's #1 for workforce innovation in the nation.
Foam finger coming.
Foam finger coming my way, right? But we have to figure out how we're going to make it even better down the road.
Yeah.
And we have to build our bench strength so that we're not doing what we're doing. Someone else takes the torch and runs it even better than we
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes. Picking up
All day long, yeah.
having it ready to handle.
Yeah.
At any time.
Yeah.
Anytime, because we are lucky to still be together as a team,
Agreed.
because I say this humbly, but just, I don't know, to have the core still together and to be able to keep running. I'm
growing.
I'm afraid that we get poached and told by our bosses to go do other things. I pray not, but I hope that for a long time you keep pushing us, man.
We got to push each other, right?
Absolutely.
You got to make me better tomorrow, and that's my goal, is to make you better tomorrow.
Yeah.
When you look at the impact of what you 2 are doing, what the Innovation Center is doing here, it has to make you smile.
Oh.
It has to make you prideful,
Every day.
because you're doing something that they said couldn't be done in a way that nobody had ever done it. Now, instead of fighting the younger generations being on their phone, we're using that as our power,
As a tool.
Attack.
Yeah.
as a tool.
Yeah.
Because you can take the whole class on your iPhone.
Yeah.
If that's how you get your media.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I love it. I'm
Making it
passionate about it. Thank you both for what you do. Thanks for letting me be a part of it, all but a small part, but it's amazing. I look forward to every time I get to interact with you and what we're doing. So
Absolutely.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yep. Chris Stricklin, thanks for being here. Brandy Merrill, as always, thanks for being here.
Yeah.
I'm Houston Blackwood, and this is Innovation Unplugged. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you.